Welcome back to the Dioramas here. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the 10,000 subscriber special. I want to say thanks to everybody for the likes, the subscribes, the comments, and all that great stuff. This video is all about you, all about give back to the viewer, celebrating your collection, celebrating collecting in general, and get some great ideas. You can get some wonderful ideas from this, great ideas on how to display your stuff, your display, but a little something special. I'm actually going to include some pictures of my collection at the very end of this. In case you're curious, it's nothing special, and a lot of these collections are way better than mine. So let's get right into it, and happy 10K special. Alright, so first up we have Chris's collection, and what I like about this is how he has the G1 packaging behind it. So every time I see his collection, I really do enjoy that G1 representation behind the masterpiece figures. So it's really cool, it really looks good, and it's funny because I see a lot of MP collectors that like G1, but they don't touch the G1 toys and any of the G1 stuff. So having this packaging is really awesome. I think it looks good the way it's set up. Of course, there's lights on there, so it's well lit up. It looks great. Here we go with another corner here, and looking good with the big combiners, the bigger figures mixed in there. And then you got smaller representations of those combiners in front. So you've got the combined ones, and you've got the individual bots, and that looks cool. That's a good way to display it also. So some ideas right here that can be grabbed. Looks great. Looks like a whole lot of fun, and I'm guessing he derives a lot of joy from looking at this. Over here in this corner, you see a whole lot of other figures, and what you notice is some of these older figures, like the Contact Shot and the Lupus. So I'm guessing Chris has been in the game collecting for a long time. Some of these older figures that are really hard to get now, so I start noticing some of those, and I'm guessing Chris has been in this for the whole time. And I like this shot here. So I do like when people show their collection to show you what are you looking at, the whole picture. And I do also like closer up, more detailed pictures in there. So looking at this, you see a few things. First off, all of the G1 boxes behind all of the masterpiece figures. You also see a Megatron in gun form, the Lewin Optimus Prime, and kind of how that's all set up and spaced out. But at the bottom, you see all those Mask vehicles. And I gotta say, I love Mask. It's an awesome toy line, a challenging toy line to collect, challenging to collect it complete, but really challenging to get it boxed. So excellent box collection of Mask down there. Whole lot of fun. Thanks so much, Chris. So looking at Jonathan's collection here, this is an excellent collection, an excellent way to display the collection. And the new addition is two HasLab Unicrons here, and he's lit them up. He's done a few things. There's a lot of great pictures with the Unicron. So right here, you kind of get to see the Unicron next to the purple potato, which that just looks great. And I like the way that looks. I like the way the purple potato looks. I like the lights. I also like how he changes the different colors of the LEDs, I guess, based on the mood. So the red LEDs in the background, that looks really cool. Here it is with some blue going on. So yeah, a lot of fun. A lot of fun. You could change the colors of the background lighting, and that kind of just changes the display also. So it's not something I really thought about doing, but now I see it. It's like, that is a pretty good idea. And then here we go again with the red and just a little bit more stuff going on. So I like that. I don't know exactly how all these lights change, but it's really cool that he gets it to change colors. Now I do want to show that his collection is displayed in sort of a strange kind of way. It's sort of a hallway, but it's elegant. And it looks really nice the way he did it. And I think you could see it straight on from going in one room and out another room. So there's still angles you can see the whole collection. So here this is straight from the head on, and it looks good. And this is a Chug collection, so purely Hasbro. And looks like mostly modern Hasbro stuff, more or less like Siege on in. And it does look good. And the way it's displayed with the big bots on the bottom, and then smaller ones moving up, and then a Trypticon up all the way to the top. So there's not 5 slots at the bottom for big ones. So it's got some symmetry to the display and all of that. and looking inside there, makes for a nice looking display. It's kind of like, so what if you just went for Masterpiece or you just went for Mainline? This is all Mainline right here, and an excellent display. It's separated from his Masterpiece display and looks good within itself. I like this. Now here's pretty much a big picture of the Masterpiece display, and there's some future space worked in. He's got some stuff coming in, like where am I going to put it? Well, I know where I'm going to put it. It's going to go right there in my empty slot that I'm waiting to put it. And looking at what's going on with the 01 Studio Cell version of Unicron, there's some sort of looks like a planet he's put in there. That's cool. And so a lot of great things going on. There's a bit of a background in there, and then we got some Voltrons going on. So great looking setup, really looks nice. The lighting, all of that, it really pops. So again, we saw this with the previous collection. Now we're seeing with this collection here, the combiner with a team broken down into the bot mode and a combined team, and that does look good. Looks like doubling down on the X-Trans bots here, and why not? Why not? I think the bots themselves are the most reasonably priced, the individual bots, for a whole set. So that's great. You can have a great looking bot set and a combined set next to it, looking really good. So he's recently gotten into some legends here, and looking at these legends, this does look great. Also, all these Seekers in plane mode, flying. This is a great way to display it. It has symmetry, it looks good, and it's a little different. Kind of, what do you put in alt mode? Like, where do you use it? How do you utilize alt mode? How do you put it? That looks good. And then all the other bots look great too. And showing off a whole bunch of different Dino bots from different companies, and some are in Dino mode, some are in bod mode, and it kind of gets back to the age-old question: do you store your dinos or display your dinos in Dino mode or in bot mode? And that's a tough one because they spent most of their time in Dino mode. So why not just do both? So great collection. I love the way it's displayed, the lighting, and all of that. Thank you so much. So here we are with Jason's collection, and I like the way this is displayed also. It looks good, and he's got the two side-by-side glass towers on top of a riser that has some lighted symbols of the faction symbols, and on the very top is a bigger display. But what's more impressive than this isn't just that it's in glass cabinets, it's that there's actual backgrounds built into it. Starting at the top, I like the way this looks, and he's done a lot of work here. This isn't just like something simple I do is just print something off, put it as a background. There's a lot of real world detail in this. Now, we've seen this before in one of the other episodes, but he's added to this since then, and it still looks great, and it looks even better now with a lot more stuff added to it. Looking awesome. And here we go with more of the mini bots. Now, this is not too heavily cluttered, not a lot of stuff in there. There's a lot of empty space in there, and it makes it look better. I think the less is more in this shelf really worked out very well. I like all of the real world elements in there too. Here we go with a Streets to Nowhere. Reading Cybertron. This is pretty cool how this is set up. Speed limit 55. I can't drive 55. But I like the way this looks and the real world elements of the team here in bot mode. So that definitely looks great. Here we go with Megatron on his throne and just some of his roadies with him here. And this looks clean. This looks really clean. I like the purple. I like the lighting. I like the pillars that are worked into it. All of the symbols that are working in it. The stair steps up it. It just looks elegant. It looks clean. It looks rough and tough. And that's only 6 figures. That's not a whole lot of figures in there to look really good. You don't need 100 figures to make a display look great. And this one here, I think, is the newest one. I think he just made this, or I missed, or just forgot it from last time. But this is from that episode where they were at the water electric plant. And it's pretty cool that he's got that, looks like a real fence. Got little bitty warning signs on it. He's got another caging around these generators and wires and stuff. So giving it a super real world feel. Looks amazing. Looks awesome. And then, the Decepticons are in there just stealing some Energon. That's just what they do. Great collection. Love all the work you put into it. Love the real world elements. Thanks for the submission. So looking at Jose's collection, I was wanting to get a shot of like all of it, but it seems like they're on different walls and different segments, and every one of them looks great. It put a lot of time and effort into placement and where he put things and how they put them in, and mixed in with different franchises that still looks good. Like with this, you see a Rhino, and you see from Mask, you see a His Tank from G.I. Joe, and Transformers all across the top. This looks really good. Looks like we're mixing in some of the third-party Masterpiece and some Chug figures, so you can really get a sense of scale of ginormous combiners. It makes them look so much bigger. I see sometimes people do that with Legends, and sometimes people do it with Mainline, but it still works to make it look like these things are larger than life. Above that, we have some G.I. Joe, the Rolling Thunder, some box Joe stuff. So there's a lot more Joe working in here and trying to make use of all the space as much as possible and displaying it as clean as possible. Taking a closer look at these towers, or the Detolf-esque type of glass shelving with figures inside. So looking at a few things. So on the left here, we've got the Optimus Prime, and we've got some trailers, and the trailer stacked up as sort of a background, and so that does look good. An element of the fact that all the figures in there are easily able to see, and using the size and the smaller ones in the front, that always seems to work really well. Like you can see every bit of Optimus Prime with little Bumblebee standing in there. And then down below we've got other Optimus Prime and another setup, like some older version of Prime and Bumblebee. Now some people like to get rid of old and only have the new, but I'm in the mindset of kind of keeping the old and displaying it on a different shelf, which is what happened here. So looking all through this, we see more of the Autobots on the other side, starting at the top there with the Fans Toys Phoenix and a few of the other bots that would work in that display, and the mini bots and the Tesla and all that. Then down, we kind of mixed in some Decepticons down below that, and then even lower there, more of the movie figures and the movie characters and the 1986 lineup. So we've got several shelves of figures here in the Masterpiece figures, and looking at this, we've got, it's behind glass doors in wooden shelves, so to help prevent some of the dust. I think that is the biggest reason to use these type of shelving, is to eliminate or to reduce the amount of dust that would get on your figures. And so that looks good. And of course, it does look a little bit more elegant if it's presented behind glass in a way. So looking at this though, it does look great. These figures all are spaced out and not just cluttered on there. So that is always a good thing. And then they're grouped too. So they're grouped kind of by season and era, and grouped by faction. So Dinobots all together and Aerial Bots all together and those kinds of things. So it definitely looks great. And a couple more shots of how it's set up in there, and then working into some Dinobots in Dino mode and some more of the Decepticons. But you're going to notice in the bottom left, Future Space, and it's one of those things that it's real easy to fill everything up with your collection. It's real hard to plan future space, to say, I'm getting something in and it's going to go there. So that, I think that's real good, to be deliberate in your collecting, but deliberate in your displaying. So I want to talk about this real quick. I've seen a lot of setups in the last year or so for flags, and there's lower levels being created for flags and big projects going on. But I've always wondered, how do people display their flag? And a lot of people just let it literally just take up half their room. This is elevated up, so it's not sitting on the ground or in all the way. It's up above a terradrome in what looks to be some sort of a piece of furniture that matches the contour of the flag better than any piece of furniture I've seen. And it really isn't something that would be too hard to find, something that has about this contour to it. But I don't know if it's a dresser or a desk or exactly what it is, but it fits it perfect. And I like that idea. I like the idea of having some furniture that fits it perfect and then utilizing this, maybe at the top. And I always thought about this. You got to raise up that flag high enough to put enough stuff below it to not have it just take up all the space. Because unless you're going to maybe put another piece of furniture above the flag, Like, what do you do? It just takes up that whole space, and this is a great way to display it. Down below, the Terradrome. I just have a lot of fun with Terradrome. That's the best playset made that I've seen so far. It's just great. There's a lot of things you can do with it. The circular design, and look at this. You can fill it all out because of the circular design. From one angle, you can see what feels like 3/4 of what's going on in this, and that's awesome. Instead of only 50%, like you can see 50% of a standard playset with a front and a back, but because it's rounded like that, you feel like you see 3/4 of everything and all the action and the display and what's going on. And there's a lot going on in this. Also, I love masks, so a mask collection, that is great. Just some of those cool things, cool elements, and the Boulder Hill itself is a really cool playset, and it's just kind of fun to have some vehicles and figures with it. Jose, thanks for showing us your collection, showing us how you display all of this stuff. Displaying can be a challenge, and it looks really neat, organized, clean, and I know you enjoy this space so much. Thank you. Next up, we're getting into Malcolm's collection, and it looks like we've got a shelf here in what might be a workspace, might double as a workspace and relaxing space, but we've got a clean shelf, top to bottom, well spaced out. Probably his favorite items are on here, and it looks good. It looks clean, and let's get into shelf by shelf. And starting here at the top, we've got a Megatron. Now, I think that one is the Weijing, and that is their own design. It is not a KO, and it's just the 12-inch version. And then we have Jetfire, Skyfire from Siege, and that is a great figure. And then we have two different versions of Prime. Is that a Prime and a Motormaster is what it looks like. Moving down, we got a nice Voltron shelf. Now, the interesting thing about Voltron is if you were to say, hey, I'm collecting vintage Voltron, they're different sizes and scales. So he's going with more or less SOC Voltron, Miracle Metal Works, and SOC Voltron. And so different Voltrons that are about the same height and scale that look great on a shelf together. You're going to see a Voltron collection behind me that is not scaled very well. So anyway, this does look good. So we got a clean Decepticon-esque shelf here, and I guess we can say that Skyfire, the Phoenix, he's an Autobot undercover right now. But this does look great. Now, first off, you're going to see that you can see every figure very well. Second off, you're going to see that the big ones in the back, smaller ones in the front, and that works out well. But not to a point that it's crammed in there. They feel like everything's there with more or less a purpose. And I don't know exactly how he got Starscream midair there, but he did. So we've got some Robotech Macross on a shelf, and we've got down below that some Dinobots and another Prime. And so that's the TE version Prime, I believe, and it looks good on a shelf together. And you can see just how much bigger those bots are than Prime. The Gigas are massive. And then down below we got some of these Autobot Carbots and the Season 1, Season 2 crowd there just chilling. Malcolm, great collection, great shelf. Love for sharing. Thanks. Next up, we're getting into Marcus's shelf. And a few things I want to say from the overall shot here of everything. First off, you got the figures lined up, out of the boxes, displayed on the shelf, looking good. And at the bottom, storing the boxes. Now, I am a fan of boxes and box art, and I keep all my boxes myself. But lately, I've just kind of tossed them in the attic and let the shelves be what they be. But integrating the boxes and packaging, to me, I've always enjoyed that. So I always look to find how do other people integrate boxes and packaging. And this is one way to do it, and that works. It does look good, neat, organized, and clean. But let's look into individual shelves here. Okay, here we have the Seekers. Now, I'm going to go on record and say we're in like all these other Seekers getting released. And when you look at this shelf and say, well, there's Seekers, Masterpiece Seekers, whether they're official or the Hasbro reissues in the US or the KBB KOs, those look like the character, they represent the characters well, and they're fine. So I don't, if you have Seekers, I just wouldn't even bother upgrading. They look good. These MP11 molds look great, and this is evidence right there. right here we've got the Shockwave and Megatron and Soundwave all looking great right there on the shelf. And less is more. Like, that's all that's on the shelf, and that's all that you need. They look great. Here we go with some Autobot Carbots. Now, this is something I like. I like doing this myself, is where you do a stadium step up. So you have the stadium view, the stadium display. So if you just had them all flat, you wouldn't see but the front row. But the fact that you have it stadiumed up, you can see figures in the back, and still they're all part of the shelf. And when you get into these Carbots, there's just so many of them that it's really hard to just say, oh, I'm only going to put 4 Carbots on the shelf. You got to put more than 3 or 4 Carbots on a shelf. So you got to do stuff like this. And of course we got Prime in here doing what Prime does, leading his Autobots, transform, roll out. But this looks good. This looks elegant. Everything is posed. There's something going on with each character. You look, each character's doing something. They're not just standing there. They're not all in line to get on the bus. So it looks great. Marcus, thanks for submitting your pictures. Great looking collection. Now looking at Ray. Ray submitted some extra pictures, but not really a full collection type of picture. This is one of his older ones, and this was a lot of work he put into making this arc. It looks so amazing, and with all of the time and effort and work celebrating this. But I'm going to show you some other pictures he submitted that are pretty cool. Ray's showing the Tidarium hangar a little bit of love there with the Megatron, and Megatron made his own Imperial shuttle and gave it the Decepticon brand. So really cool. That's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun looking at these pictures. So he's done a lot of custom stuff. So here is a custom huffer he has made right there. So the one on the left I think is the original. The one on the right is the custom. And so making it look a little bit more Toon-ish. So worth people making customs, update kits and stuff. So still a pretty cool looking huffer. And Ray's also showcasing all of the different primes and finally getting the MP44 he has been looking forward to for a while there, and the difference between the 3 primes. And again, which one do you like the most? It's one of those preference things. I think they all look great. I do. I think they all look great. But for me, I use the MP44, but that doesn't mean that any of the options are bad. It's just I kind of like the MP44. And I think he does too. Right, thanks for the few pictures showing the Tidarium hangar. All that love. Alright, showing some pictures here of Richard's collection. Now, first of all, we've got a shelf with a bunch of figures on it that look good, well spaced out, great looking figures. And these figures are, some of them are really old and hard to get. And really, it's kind of cool to see a blend of these masterpiece figures. But starting at the top, some big behemoths at the top. Then moving down, we got some monster bots and the Decepticon monster bots going on there, and the headmasters. And then one more shelf down, we've got some headmasters, more headmasters, Autobot headmasters. That contact shot that's in there, just you don't see contact shot that often, but he is a pretty cool looking figure. And then down below, more of these monster bots, and those look cool. Now I think those, I don't think they make those anymore, so I don't think you get those anymore. They're tough to get, and they're big, and they look awesome. Now this is a different shelf, probably more of a main shelf. Well, we see at the top there, we have Unicron. It is kind of cool how the Unicron has the tractor beams that double as stands side by side. So that's symmetry right there, and it almost looks like they should be lighting him up. That would be cool, like throwing some light on him. And then we've got the Dr. Egg from X-Transbots right there. So would be kind of fun to just push the button, the on button, and sit back and watch that thing go automatically. That'd be pretty cool. Then going down, we've got a bunch of Decepticons on the top shelf, and just kind of representing all of them in there in one swoop. And then right below it, we've got a couple of triple changers, and the shelf below it looks pretty clean. That you just see those triple changers, and he really likes that Astro Train and the Blitzwing. So really very, very popular collectors. Most people that comment about those characters a lot. And then down below that, we've got was getting into more of a season 3 kind of thing going on there. The movie figures, movie characters looking great. In between bigger shelves of Masterpiece, we've got a G1 collection getting represented right here, kind of right in the middle. And so I like it when people still give actual G1 figures some love and they show them some space and share a little bit of display with them. So that's awesome. And here is the Autobot shelf showing dinos at the top. Like, they are big and they look really good up there at the top. Now here's an interesting way that he did it. So you've got kind of Swoop facing forward, and the rest are sort of facing different directions. They're not all just facing forward. Now if you have a top shelf like this, this is the perfect shelf for that, because it looks like they're looking at something they'd be looking at. If you did that inside of a shelf, someone would be looking at a wall, and that wouldn't make sense. This looks good, it makes sense. Down below, we have the some of the Autobot Carbots, and a lot more of the Season 1 Autobots. Down below that, we've got more, maybe getting into Season 2 a bit, and then below that, we're getting into like Season 3 movie stuff, and so looks good. Here's a display table of the big bots and kind of putting all the big bots together, which is one of those things that you can start to see, okay, size comparison, how big are these guys side by side, and with that, it starts to show how big this like 19-20 inch scale is and how everything else would stack up next to it. But again, looks great, and in person it's probably even more impressive in person because they are so big. Richard, thanks for the pictures and great collection. Alright, so you've seen some great collections for the 10K special. I'm just going to show you what I got going on, which it's not all that great, so I mean, don't get too excited, but overall, this is what I look at in my office, my studio, whatever you want to call it, but this is my Masterpiece collection. They're put into built-ins, and as you can see, it was overtaken by Star Wars. Now Transformers is taken over for Star Wars in so many areas. I'm just kind of condensing or getting rid of some Star Wars stuff to put in Transformers, and that's kind of the way I'm going. Now, if you look at this, I got the two built-ins side by side. I got the 12-inch figures right there in the middle, and up on the very top right is, I'm going to put something there. I don't know. Something's going to go there. So I want to start with this Season 3 shelf is where I want to start. And the reason is, this is, in my idea with these built-ins, how I wanted things to look. I built them up with some granite, and I wanted the center to be more or less empty. Empty or alt modes in the center, and then kind of like a horseshoe, kind of do a rounded U shape of figures so you can see all the figures. It doesn't look too crowded and busy, but it looks like something's going on. And at one point I had all of them with a dynamic pose, but after 7 or 8 times of pulling them out for a video and then throwing them back in there, it's just they've gotten to where they are now. So I had more dynamic poses in the first setup, and now it's kind of like, well, you know, I'm going to pull it back out and use it for a video again, so, you know, why bother? And I hate to admit that that's kind of where I am with it. Here's the Autobot shelf, and there's a couple of things going on with this. I feel like it's way too overcrowded, and again, it's in that hole. I pulled a whole bunch of these figures out to do a video not too long ago, and when I tossed them back in there, I just threw them back up there, and I didn't take time to space them just right to see everything. So that is kind of a challenge. Now, looking at the main big one here, as you can see, I was trying to do my whole horseshoe kind of displaying, and as you get too many figures, you start to over clutter and overcrowd it. So with this, I got to select the ones I want to go and keep the ones I want and get back to my empty space in the middle to make it the empty less is more going on. So that's something I'm going to be doing in the future. Up top here with this Optimus Prime, and this is the official MP44 and a KO next to it. Now, another thing I'm trying to do is incorporate alt modes. Now, you've seen a lot of these collections today incorporating alt modes, and so that's something I'm trying to do. It's also, I'm trying to do to be lazy for reviews so I can have something to compare and not have to transform a half-hour transform in another figure to do a comparison. So that's kind of something that I got going on in my whole setup. I do have lighting in there. You can see a strip. It's not hidden as well as maybe I'd like, but you got to light some of this stuff up sometimes. here we are with my Decepticon shelf. And so the granite in there, a couple things. First off, I ran out of granite. I got all the granite for free. I never paid $1 for any of the granite. All free, broken granite from granite shops, cleaned it up, used it. But I put some wood in to kind of elevate it higher. And then after I was done, I got to realizing maybe this shelf couldn't have handled 200 pounds of granite. So I'm kind of glad that I used some wood too in there. So, and then looking at it overall, I do have a Minosaur in there, and then the Motor Masters in front of it. Now, start to look at some of these others that have a Minosaur, and then they have the team in front of it that probably would look better. So I might go that route. Just toying with ideas, but I could barely fit this Minosaur in this space. As you can see at the bottom there, to take off the upgrade kit parts, because it just wouldn't quite fit on this shelf. And then for the rest of it, I did a background Cybertron, and my shelf isn't exactly level. So although the picture's perfectly straight, I might have to go modify the picture and move it. I don't know if it's worth all that time and effort, but yeah, a couple of things I got going on this shelf right here. And looking at a picture of this combiner shelf makes me really want to just pull everything out of here and redo it, and then incorporate a big bot on each shelf, like I did on another shelf. But incorporate a big bot on each shelf, and then not have so much going on with big bots on one shelf. I know this is too busy. I know there's too much going on, but again, this is kind of where I just kind of threw stuff when I was done with the video, and I need to take more time and effort into making it look good. And this is what I got going on with my Legends. No background in there, and so I need to put a background in there, and just a couple other things. This is another one that's really tough. I feel like the way I have it set up, because I have these Legends, and I have some wood planks there to lift them up so you can see the ones in the back a little bit better. But part of that problem is this is a Jenga puzzle. If I pull one figure, I can knock 5 of them over. It's definitely a Jenga puzzle. They're small, they don't take up as much space, but you really do kind of need to give them enough room to have some empty space in there too. Hope you enjoyed looking at these great collections and enjoying how other people display their collections. And I'm going to be doing a 11,000 subscriber special, of course, coming up whenever that happens. So like and subscribe, let me know what you think. Did you get anything out of these videos? Did you get some good ideas? And what were they? What are you going to use in your display? Are you motivated to display all this stuff you've got hanging around in boxes? Like and subscribe to Hanger out.